Hey everybody, welcome to FEMMES at Large presents whatever you want to talk about. I'm January.
And I'm Marz.
And I'm just happy to be back. We kind of had a long break because we had to get some stuff situated, but things are looking up and we're ready to get into it.
We're back and we're better.
Yeah. What's the topic for today? What's the name of the episode before we get on the immediate topics, Marz?
I believe we decided on the biracial white maternal epidemic. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want to make sure I had all the wording correct.
Yeah. Even if we change it up, it's going to have all those same words in it. We're going to get deep into that because it truly is an epidemic that is going on politically, with celebrities, in personal people's lives. So we're going to get into that. And Marz has really spearheaded the charge on that. Marz, before we get started, would you like to start with our disclaimer for today?
Producer Miles, please edit my voice. So, here's our disclaimer.
We at FEMMES at Large do not condone or endorse the bullying or harassment of our lighter complexion counterparts. While conversations like this may be difficult, they are necessary. If you or a loved one are biracial with a white mother, please be advised to proceed with caution. You have been warned.
That might be one of the best disclaimers I've ever heard. Thank you so much for your contribution, Marz. And we're going to get into the topics first before we get into all of that because it's going to be a deep one.
Yeah.
First, this has been kind of a crazy week, as every week has been in 2024 so far. We're going to start off with something light. So WNBA season has officially started. A lot of funness is going on. A lot of games. You know, you got Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, everything going on. But we also have some side stories that are helping to fuel more attention and audiences into what's going on. And the one cool thing about the WNBA, there's many things, but one cool thing about it is how gay it is. A lot of LGBTQ plus going on.
Gay
and so
rights.
we have really gay rights. So we have these stories. So the first one we're talking about is Dejanay and Nalissa Smith.
So messy.
It's messy, but it's cute. It's like really nice. Cute. So essentially, they're both WNBA players. They both play for different teams. So Dejanay she got drafted by the Suns in 2021, and then Nalissa got drafted by the Indiana Fever in 2022. But previously, before they were drafted, they both started dating at the University of Baylor when they both were teammates. So they continued to date even when they both got drafted. But then in the off season of I believe 2022, 2023. It was assumed that they may have broken up. They deleted their posts. They unfollowed each other. So there was an assumed breakup. But then now this first game of the season started for 2024, and so it's against the Fever and the Suns. And so essentially everyone was kind of just focused more on Caitlin Clark at first, I guess, if you're a person that's not really into the teams and stuff like that. But a lot of people were watching out for Dejanay and Nalissa because they were playing each other, and they're both prominent players, so they're gonna play. Early into the game, Nalissa accidentally bumps into Dejanay, and it's kind of a hard foul, but it's not too bad. Dejanay kind of falls, but what really started up the fuel of the fire was Nalissa picking up Dejanay. Now, to me, I was just like, okay, she picks up Dejanay or whatever, but I guess it was the way it was done. But it wasn't okay, we'll probably leave a clip in the... But, okay, the way she picked her up...
Because I will not be gaslit.
Because it's but people were after a small clip, it's just being polite. Even though y'all broke up, you picking up somebody, you're I'm not trying to start anything.
She is not picking up nobody else from the waist. Not a single, not even her own teammates. She not picking nobody else up like that.
I mean,
and everybody else gets you good, bro? You good? No, she got a. Come on now. Come on. Come on.
Okay,
now.
maybe there was a little tension, but like it went crazy. Everybody on Twitter, everybody's hyping it up, making it this huge thing, and it's cute. But it's also just like, oh, like it's a cute moment. Like, oh, okay, like whatever. That's how I saw it, right? But everybody and their mama was doing think pieces, trying to figure out who doing what with who, and I was just like, y'all, like let them let them have their time. You know, if they have a little history or whatever, just let them have their time. Like.
Okay.
You know, so that's kind of how I felt at first about it, but then after the game, there was like a tweet that Nalissa liked. It was a tweet of Nelly and Ashanti, with Ashanti, like, you know, she's pregnant now, and Nalissa liked the tweet, and someone had it was a quoted tweet where someone had said, "I hope this happens with me and my ex." So then everybody was like, oh shit, like what's going on? Like, what does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. And then they ended up playing again. Okay? They played again. And Dejanay made this amazing block on Erica Wheeler for the Fever. It was a really good block. But then, you know, Dejanay was talking trash, you know, being loud, getting rowdy. So Erica Wheeler, when the block happened, Erica had fell on the sideline. So Erica was pissed. So Erica was trying to get up to come towards Dejanay. And Nalissa it was like really smooth. Came through and was like, nah, just chill. Just chill. So that was kind of smooth. I was like, okay, that was pretty smooth. That was good. You know,
I would have folded,
like
personally. Like fresh laundry.
It just was like, it was cool. I think it was like, to me, yes, there's probably something there. Obviously, like with the like tweet, you may be seeing Alyssa's trying to like shoot her shot a little bit, but also I think it's a respect there. Like if I'm playing against somebody I used to date, I don't want that person to think there's any vendetta or like hard feelings or anything. And maybe there's a little bit of protection there, unless like they had a bad breakup and like the other person was being a lot. You know, I probably wouldn't have that same energy fully. I just would you know, mind my business. But yeah, I thought it was cute. And I think after that, Dejanay tweeted, as she should. And so, be on the lookout. We all on the lookout to see what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So, that was like a happy story. So that made me, you know, feel good. So, I just wanted to like start it off with that. How do you feel about it, Marz? Have you been keeping track of everything?
It is spin the block season. I'm rooting for them. I do hope that they both spin the block. That would be very cute. They're clearly a power couple. Now, it does go into the conversation of, I don't know what this next season of the WNBA is going to look like, because it's too much going on with everybody dating each other on the same team, and then they beefing on different teams. This is unprecedented for the NBA, because that we know of, ain't no relationships going on in the men's league. So I don't know what is going to happen after this season, but if they know what's good for them in their ratings, they would mind their business and look the other way. But I can understand, we were talking about this with producer Miles. Every time we say Miles, that's our producer. If he was talking about if he was a coach, he wouldn't know what to do with that. He would be so stressed out. So I can understand from that perspective and like the messiness and all that, but like this is an untapped market. Okay, we have never had outside of basketball wives, like that's off the court. You know what I'm saying? It don't really, unless somebody's messing with somebody's girlfriend, I'm bored. No, I want them to date, because that's a different type of like hate, like a vendetta against, like when you're playing against someone that you used to date, like that just makes you, I feel like that would make you go even harder, you know, like it's so many different layers that are now adding into it, and it makes it such an interesting watch, and way more interesting for me than the men's league at this point. So I'm all for it. I think it's so cute, and again, it is spin the block season, and I hope that they reconnect, because they're very cute.
Yeah, I hope they do reconnect, because I like the energy. You could tell there was love there, so that's really cool. I think, like, from my perspective, because I used to play college basketball, like, I would rather them be on different teams and date, but on the same team.
We can't do that anymore.
love is love is love.
Yes.
But it be causing issues because if something don't work out, if they break up, it's a lot. And it's just like, you got to pick a side. It's a lot. So I was just like, I think it's great that they're like having this moment. And it's cute. But also like, as a teammate, if they were on the same team, it'd be annoying. So yeah. It would be a lot. I ain't gonna hold you.
I support y'all though.
Love is love is
Love is love.
Love is love. So next, trigger warning. We're gonna be talking about physical, mental, and emotional abuse. So if you need to tap out now, please do. We're gonna start talking about Diddy and Cassie. We're specifically the video that came out of Diddy harming Cassie in that hotel that came out years ago. That came out just recently after being like hidden for years. Allegedly, he was able to pay off somebody for $50,000 to keep this video under wraps because like it's actually terrible. So basically, we're not gonna show the video, but just a short description. You see the video of him. This is in I believe 2016. Mm-hmm. You see him. First, you see Cassie at an elevator of a hotel lobby, a hotel like floor, trying to leave, and then you see another camera of Diddy running down a hallway in nothing but a towel, and coming to assault Cassie. It was a lot. He grabs her by the hair, goes in on her, to the point where she's in the fetal position, and he is still attacking her. And then it ends with he throws flowers at her. I was so worried he's gonna throw the vase. Like, it was just really scary. He throws flowers at her, and it kind of ends with her trying to call for help. And then it kind of like cuts off. It was really hard to watch. It was hard to watch. I know for a lot of people, we didn't need the video evidence to know that this was happening, but to see it in full view, it just really was sobering and frustrating to be like, wow, like we really were just, people knew this happened and have seen this happen with their own eyes, and we're still upholding this type of person. He then comes out with an apology video. So the apology video was interesting, considering you could tell he was trying to play a Russell Simmons. He was out somewhere in a tropical area. You could tell by the roofing where he was at, looked very nice. And he basically, same script, talked about God, talked about how he was going through a lot and that he's gotten help and therapy and all that and all this mess. And it just was like, it was really crazy to me because I'm like, we're just going to keep platforming these men. We're going to keep letting them get away with this. And they get to just go and hide in places where they know they can't be convicted. And it was disgusting. And also what's disgusting was like, people did garner support for Cassie for sure, but then there was also a lot of people that were still trying to blame Cassie in a way, or even unconsciously blaming her by saying you got to get out. And when you're in a situation like that, you got to get out. And it's not that black and white. There's a lot of nuance, and there's ways mentally, emotionally, and physically that abusers abuse you and manipulate you into situations. So that was disheartening. And then it was followed up with Cassie posting an Instagram post thanking everybody for their support. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. Thank you for all the love and support from my family, friends, strangers, and those I have yet to meet. The outpouring of love has created a place for my younger self to settle and feel safe now, but this is only the beginning. Domestic violence is the issue. It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become. With a lot of hard work, I am better today, but I will always be recovering from my past. Thank you to everyone that has taken the time to take this matter seriously. My only ask is that everyone open your heart to believing victims the first time. It takes a lot of heart to tell the truth out of a situation that you were powerless in. I offer my hand to those that are still living in fear. Reach out to your people. Don't cut them off. No one should carry this weight alone. This journey is never ending, but this support means everything to me. Thank you. Love always, Cassie. So I thought that was really well said. It's sad that she even has to keep speaking on this, but But yeah, like, I'm glad that she was able to speak her piece, and hopefully she finds her peace. What do you think about it, Marz?
It was, I mean, like you said, we didn't need to see any video. When the case was first made public, her case against him, and his reaction to that settling in less than a day, that said everything you needed to know. But also, I really feel like this needs to be said, and I hope some of these, like, people that will always, like, in cases like this, it's always like, they're innocent until proven guilty, da-da-da-da. I'm gonna believe the woman every single time. I love the counterpoint to that is always like, well, women lie on men and da-da-da-da. I would rather believe a liar than someone abusing someone every single time. So sorry. Those two crimes are never equal. They're never equal. I understand that on one side, someone can be put in jail for something that they didn't necessarily do, but the flip side is someone altering someone's brain chemistry and physically harming them for years. Like, those two aren't the same. I'm so sorry. I will believe the woman every single time, or I'll believe the victim every single time. So I wish more people would keep that in mind, and the fact that there's always, like, the benefit of the doubt on behalf of the abuser. I will never understand that. I will never understand that. I didn't even need it to get to the point of the case. I believed her to begin with. Diddy is an incredibly powerful man, not just in the industry, but just in status. He is a billionaire. He is an incredibly, I don't know if he is anymore, but he's an incredibly powerful man. So the people that have the nerve to say, or to make it into this conversation of like, you need to get away, blah, blah, blah. Is she not in the video actively trying to run away? Do you think that that was the first attempt? Do you think that that was the last attempt? Like, I need us to use a little bit more critical thinking as a community. And this whole week has been so disappointing to see so many people continue to cape for him and continue to absolve him of these crimes as if they're Cassie. Like, it boggles my mind. Like, eventually we're going to have a conversation about Gen X women or women of that generation, black women that will continue to cape for black men that do horrible things because they look to God and, found, it was so long ago and blah, blah, blah. It just, so many of these things are making me so angry. But yeah, at the end of the day, believe women. How he handled that case should have told you everything in itself. And I'm just wishing her healing. I'm so happy that she's free of this. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't, you said it, like, it is so difficult to get out of situations like that. There's not just the physical abuse, but there's the mental and emotional abuse. There's a lot of, like, psychological control that happens in those situations, and it takes a lot for someone to be able to finally look at the situation from the outside. That's a very privileged take to have, to say, you gotta, duh, girl, you have to leave. Like, that you're not saying anything revolutionary when you say things like that. So for the men in our community that continue to cape for men like this, I hope you see your fate eventually as well, because the only reason why you would cape for someone like this is because you've done things like that. So, I mean, I'm really happy that we are in this era. Like, it is, like, a very difficult and, like, just arduous time period to be in, to constantly see all these people that we once saw as legends, or, like, we love their music, we love the things that they created, but they're horrible people. It's a very strange time period to be in, but it is so necessary, and I don't care who comes out of it. At the end of the day, I'll be disappointed. Like, I will never stop being disappointed, but everything needs to come to light. So keep it coming. Who's next? Line them up.
Absolutely. Speak truth to power. I'm really happy that people are getting exposed. And also, you saying that just made me think of, I'd seen a tweet where they were talking about how bad Biggie was and how abusive he was to women and people. And I think that's something that gets overlooked as well, especially people who die, like, early or in their prime, like, how that can kind of be erased. So, yeah, something to think about. So, yeah, that's what I have for today. Marz, what you thinking? Is anything this week that kind of just, like, you want to talk about or is on your brain?
I have a few. I won't try and stay on each topic a little too long, but while it's still fresh. Nicki Minaj,
Yep.
she's in the slammer, literally. In Amsterdam, the story going on, there's no official press release from their police department to my knowledge. All of this we're all going off of what was said in her live stream, because she was live streaming while she was being arrested, or taken into custody, or however you want to phrase that. The story going out right now is that, so she flies private, obviously she doesn't fly commercial, and they were checking her luggage before she was able to even make it to, I'm assuming, whatever her hotel would be, and they found drugs. The drugs in question, I'm not seeing anything in specific. She's saying it's just weed. I don't believe that, but she's saying it's just weed. I was under the impression that weed is legal in Amsterdam, but it actually isn't. They just have one of those loopholes where if it's under a certain amount in a business, there's nothing that they can do about it. So it's one of those things where it's like, I guess it's decriminalized, but it's still illegal.
Okay.
Like, but they're very like on top of those. They call them coffee shops in Amsterdam, where you're allowed to go in and smoke and things like that. But they have to stay under a certain amount. The minute they go over that amount, they can shut the whole operation down. So while that little caveat may be in place, and it is, they are more lenient, I'm assuming, with people that use, because if it's legal in this, it's a very gray area. But while that may be the case, that doesn't mean that you can fly into the country or out of the country with drugs on you. That's never been a thing for any country. That's like, so if that is the case, that is so. Yeah. Oh, okay. So she's out now. Okay.
Soft update from our producer Miles, who updated us.
In.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for updating us. So she is now out. She was probably only in custody for maybe a day, or no, probably less than that, because her show was that night when they took her into custody. So I'm sure it was just a few hours. They had the barbs outside of the embassy chanting for her release. But she is out, and she just got a fine. So I'm assuming, like we said, or like I hypothesized, it's decriminalized, but you can't travel in and out of a country with marijuana, if that's what it was, which, if it was anything harder, they would have found it. So yeah, thoughts?
Yeah, thoughts. I thought it was interesting. That was the first time I had learned about Amsterdam's rules on weed, so that was good to know. I think a good rule of thumb is just don't travel with drugs, no matter what kind. Especially after Brittany Griner, that shook me.
Hello? That shook me to my core.
Because it was so innocent. It was so innocent. Because
Russian jail
she
for
easily
13
could have
years.
just. Because they were using her as a political pawn, obviously, and it worked. But the thing is, it's just like, how many times do you leave something in your bag and you haven't been in that bag in a while?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just probably like, I'm not saying it's right. I think all drugs should be decriminalized, and we should talk about ways in either rehabilitating people or learning how to live with these type of drugs. But it's super scary. I think I had seen a YouTuber, Kempire. I like watching him. He was saying how Nikki was saying that the weed was her assistant's weed, and it was like a couple pre-rolls. So I don't know if it was more than the pre-rolls or whatever, but very scary. I'm glad she's safe. I'm glad she's not in trouble or anything, but
Any
also
other country,
just don't travel. Like, you going somewhere else, just don't do it, man. Just don't do it. But also, like, it was kind of weird, their treatment towards her. I didn't like the treatment fully. It was kind of sus. I do think it's totally hilarious that they were outside the embassy. That still blows me. Like, I think I'm sorry. It's funny. But I'm happy she's safe. I'm happy she's back on the road. I hope that she stays safe for the rest of the tour.
I'm happy she's safe. I'm happy nothing happened to her while in custody. I'm happy that she was not harmed.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we'll continue on. We'll continue on.
Let's continue on.
I don't want no smoke. Trust me, I don't want no smoke with them people. I don't want no smoke with them people. They do not let up because they're all like 15 and they ain't got no damn job. Yeah. Okay. So this is another thing that I wanted to touch on real quick, touch and go. We may do an entire ATL conversation because I feel we're getting to that point. January and Miles might disagree with me, but I'm not opposed to standing alone. I do that a lot in this life, but we need to talk about the veneer text. We do, because it's getting. What's going on, January? As an ATLian, what is going on over there?
I don't know what's going on. I haven't been there. I haven't been in Atlanta for a little bit. Been working out of state, but it doesn't surprise me that there are veneer techs in Atlanta. Atlanta's just not real. I think when I first moved there, it was so cool. I'm like, wow, like black people can be anything, but also in that black people can be anything.
There need to be restrictions.
There needs to be restrictions, but also like. You know, there's a bunch of white scammers. Now there's like hella black scammers in your vicinity. Because really, that's what all veneer tech is to me. It's scamming.
It's a scam.
Like, and it's crazy because it's like there's a big hustle culture, but there's no follow through on the repercussions of the hustle.
Nah.
And I think that's the issue in Georgia and maybe New York. Because I feel like New York has that same vibe too.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, like I think it's just like, Atlanta's not real, but it's a magical place where you can do whatever you want to do. You can get wings at a strip club. You can do whatever you want. It's really, that's the beauty and the dangers of Atlanta, and that's the best I can explain it.
And I respect that. I'm speaking to the veneer techs right now. This is between me and y'all. Stop. Like, what do you mean? And then move to the side and let me speak to the people that are going into someone's apartment.
Wait, what?
People that are going into someone's apartment to get dental work. You're not serious. We can talk about the veneer tax all day, but the market wouldn't exist if there weren't people willing to pay for those services. It wouldn't exist. I do fault them, don't get me wrong. I do fault them. You're completely wrong for operating in people's mouth with things that are connected to nerves, that are connected to your brain, that are connected to your... Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can mess your whole life up with bad dental work. Your whole life up. We're in this weird time where everybody's trying to do what the celebrities are doing, but they can't afford it. Like, at a certain point where there will be, mark my words, mark this date, there will be BBL techs. There will be people doing straight up operations after a certain point because people are trying to keep up with the Joneses. Mm-hmm. You ain't got their money. You can't do those things. You're shaving your teeth down to nubs, or they're not even doing that anymore. They're at the point where they're just like using essentially nail technology, like certain things, and just adding on certain pieces, so people got these big ass things in their mouth. I need us to come to Jesus. Unfortunately, ATL comes to the front. I need us to...
I didn't know that was happening.
That's essentially what's happening. They're using the same type of like things that you would do to form nails. It's not the same material, but they're using the same processes. They're not even doing the actual like what you would do to make proper veneers. They're not doing that. They're using like silicone or whatever. Not silicone. Like porcelain, or I don't know what the material is, but they're forming it onto the teeth as they are to just make them straight. And the people that are giving people braces...
Not the braces.
So we will table it there, and we will circle back to this conversation at a later date. But remember, I said it first. There will be BBL techs.
One thing I have to add, we have to hold the system accountable for not letting people have access to proper dental care.
Absolutely. That comes first.
And I think that needs to be said, because
that needs to be said.
And the crazy beauty standards. But yes, we will table it. Yes.
We will table that and circle back. We will circle back.
Damn.
hopefully before the BBL text hit the market.
Right.
But this last topic before we get into the topic of the day. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Fanita. She is a TikTok creator, but she's now on. She has her own podcast. You know, she has a large presence on the internet as a whole at this point. She was one of the kind of like 2020, 2021 creators, such as myself, but I've fallen off. But
No.
but I'm allowed to make fun of myself. She you know, she really kind of paved her own lane as originally a plus size creator, and there are certain stigmas just in general being plus sized, but then being on the internet, that's a whole other ball game. So for a lot of things I do commend her, but she lost an immense amount of weight recently, like very quickly. Like I would say, actually it wasn't, she started like late 2023. I mean, we're only in April, so I mean, it was pretty fast. She dropped a whole bunch of weight, and then recently, you know, got some surgeries to, I guess, remove excess skin. She got a boob job, you know, and certain other things to kind of get everything real tight. So she looks great. You know, I'm happy for her. If that was what was going to make her happy, then that is what needed to happen for her. That's not the conversation that I want to have today. Mm-hmm. However, from my perspective, watching what is happening to her right now, if you have time, go take a gander over at Fanita's TikTok account, because she is unfortunately crashing out. She has really been getting it. There's a lot of people, like, all of this kind of sparked from her starting the conversation of Black creators not getting the brand deals with the same pay as white creators. It's a tale as old as time. Mm-hmm. It's been going on since YouTube. And a lot of creators will start that conversation to bring awareness to it, and then, you know, to make sure that everybody's getting equal pay. Nothing wrong with that. I think the conversation needs to be had. A lot of people started to not counteract her point, because no one is going to deny that Black creators deserve the same pay. But a lot of people are kind of saying this wasn't as much of an issue for you because you have been sitting at the same... How am I going to word this? They're essentially saying, you know, she got under fire a couple years ago with Tarte. She defended them for no reason. There was a brand trip, and one of the people that was supposed to be on the brand trip was not getting the same accommodations as everybody else, and she basically went out of her way to be like, well, that didn't happen to me, and blah, 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 blah. And so a lot of people are kind of saying it's interesting that this is as much of a big deal for you now, but you were caping for certain brands way back when. It's really hard for me to kind of... You really got to just be online to understand this conversation. I wish I was able to, like, map it out for you, but it's so much. But essentially, her response to a lot of creators bringing light to how she's kind of been a little wishy-washy in her advocacy, and also this... It's not a personality change, because she's always been very loud and outspoken and brash. But now she's essentially being like, when I was fat, anything I said, you guys kind of put a gun to my head. So now I'm coming for everybody. Now I'm, you know, and that conversation is a little strange to me, because it's like, well, now that you're skinny, you get to be mean. Maybe you were always mean. Like, I don't think, like, I don't think that, like, that is something to, like, be proud of. Like, now I'm, you know, like, she's talking out of her, like, she's talking crazy right now about a lot of people that aren't necessarily looking to tear her down, but I don't know. How much do you know about Fanita? What are your thoughts? Have you seen any videos that she's been doing recently?
Yeah, when I first got on TikTok, she was pretty much all on my For You page, and I thought she was really funny. I thought she was cool. I really appreciated her going in and like whatever. But I think it's when she got that cake from TikTok. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
It was like, I think when she, or sometime where she finally got like acknowledged for like how many followers and stuff.
Right.
That's when I think I saw the decline to a degree, like personality change. I didn't see her much on my For You page because, like, you know, they do that all the time. You follow somebody, they don't want to show you them.
Yeah.
And so, like, I didn't really pick back up on her until just recently when she interviewed Raven's wife.
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit, like, she looks really different. I'm like, that's fine, you know, like, no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But it just felt very like, very sudden, the weight change, and also just kind of how she would talk about it in the interview at times. I'm like, there's a little bit there we need to dig into. What's going on? I didn't know that she was being this wishy-washy. I hadn't really paid attention. I did see the video that came out I just saw it today of her, like, I guess having fun at a party, and then she accidentally bumped into somebody and it was going off on that girl online or somebody. I don't know. I was like, damn, that's a lot. I gotta look at this later because we were getting ready to record.
That situation, she was literally just at like a club in LA. I think it's called Apartment something.
Yeah. Okay,
and that girl, as you can clearly see, because she had posted that on her story of her like, you know, dancing. She was feeling herself all cute, and this girl was walking through and bumps her. There's no denying that she did get bumped, but she phrased it as if she got shoved, as if she just blew right past her, as if she didn't see. How dare you not see Fanita the Queen? Like, it's giving, like, it's really getting very scary. Like, it's getting so scary. It's getting so scary. Like, not for nothing, like, she has had this, like, you know, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. I don't care who it offends. Like, when she was bigger, she got it, like, everybody got on her because she, God forbid, she had the nerve to say, not everyone is pretty. That's all she said. And everybody was like, how dare you, blah, 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 because don't you dare be fat and have an opinion. So now that she's smaller, I guess, you know, it does make sense. If you don't live in a larger body, you will not know what it's like to have to take and take and take. I'm giving her as much grace as possible, but, like, one thing I don't like is a mean girl. That's something I can't get behind. I will never be able to get behind a mean girl. And right now it's giving a lot of mean girl. Like, yes, she is under fire right now, but, like, yeah, with that situation, that girl was just walking past, and you're in a club, people are gonna bump you. I hate going out with that person that has an attitude over every single little bump. Like, you gotta like. But anyway, continue your point. I hate to interrupt.
No, you're good. It wasn't interrupting. I pretty much was done with the thought. When I saw that, I was like, this is a lot going on. I'm going to look at this later. But, you know, hearing what you were saying, like, it kind of adds up and it tracks. Like, you know, there's probably definitely trauma from being big, being fat, and, like, experiencing all of that. But also that doesn't give you the power or the excuse to turn around and do that to others. And that's, like, basically being a hypocrite, I feel like, to a degree. So yeah, I hope the best for her though, because she doesn't look well. Like, something about her makes it looks like she's going through a lot, and I hope that it's like gets better for her, because I'm a little worried.
She's really crashing out online, like, it's a post every other hour at this point, and it's too much. It's too much. And I get it. I give her grace, because you take a lot. You take a lot as a plus size person. You take a lot of shit. You kind of got to just eat that. But I understand the villain era, but does it make it I can't get down with that. So sorry. But that is our topics. That's our topics of the day. That's all I really wanted to talk about.
That's it.
So now we're really getting down into it. You heard the disclaimer at the top. So I don't really want to hear no lip. I don't. Zip.
We gotta do it again, just for people who.
Let's do it again, just in case you missed it at the top. I'll give it to you one more time. Producer Miles, make sure you throw them words up on the screen. I'll send it to you.
We at FEMMES LRG do not condone or endorse the bullying or harassment of our lighter complexion counterparts. While conversations like this may be difficult, they are necessary. If you or a loved one are a biracial with a white mother, please be advised to proceed with caution. You have been warned.
At this point, take it up with God. All right.
Let's do it.
So,
Let's get into it.
So I don't know if you finished the graphic, but Jan was asking me who we should put kind of on our like the graphic that we're gonna use for this video, and I had only mentioned Drake and Doja. Amanda Seales, we are gonna touch on you, and I hate to be that person, even though you are not a biracial, but the conversation does still apply, unfortunately. I was kind of doing a little bit more thought into it, and Logic and Joyner Lucas also all fall under this umbrella. The common denominator being all of these people have a white mother. And something happens neurologically when you are a biracial with a white mother versus a white father. It's just science. It is. So just blanket. Do you, or have you been friends with anyone that's biracial with a white mother, or what are your thoughts about the biracials with white mothers before we kind of dig into each each of these examples I have?
So I do have really, like, I have friends who have white mothers who are biracial, but I guess a requirement to being friends with me is that you have to be honest about the state of the world. And I think my friends who do have white mothers, they understand me and give me that space to talk about white people, and I accept them, they accept me, so it's different. But I have encountered biracial people who have white mothers who you could tell, and
you can tell.
You can tell, know. But I'm gonna let Marz go in first, and then give my thoughts for real. Yeah, because I know you're ready. Let's do it, Marz. Let's do it.
Right. Yeah. So, Jan definitely said it. You just know looking at someone if their mother is white. Like, it's just, there's a lot of things that go into it. So one of the first things that I wanted to kind of touch on is a bit of the identity crisis that happens, if you will, the Oreo complex. They're too black for the white kids, too white for the black kids. And they kind of go through that as a child. They feel that experience of never kind of fitting in to either side, and then that carries them into their adult life. It's very prevalent with Doja. It's so incredibly prevalent with Drake. The Logic isn't as bad anymore, but in his raps, oh my god. And Joyner Lucas, I mean, that I'm Not Racist video says it all, says everything that I would need to say. So let's, and a lot of this is going to go into kind of colorism and things like that, but the Oreo complex, kind of not feeling either included or really accepted by either side. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely see that as being really tough. I know firsthand from people who I care about who have had that experience in really dangerous areas. And I think something that we don't talk about too is the eugenics of it all, and how, like, especially when it comes to white supremacy and like some of the more racist people, it's like sometimes they'd rather you be black than mixed.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thought to have. And so I could see how that could be hard for someone, but I think the issue that I have with other people is how they make it their personality trait. And I think that is the issue. And when people act like that, that's when you're like, I don't even want to deal with you. And that's how I feel about it.
It definitely, once it trickles on into your adult life, there has to be, again, a come to Jesus moment. You can't carry this forever. I'm sorry that you didn't feel connected to either culture. I'm sorry that people were mean to you because they didn't really know what you were ethnically, or that people were mean to you because you're light-skinned. We'll have that conversation later. But like we said, it becoming your entire personality is the problem. And this being an issue mainly for biracials with white mothers it just makes sense, unfortunately, because another thing that I will touch on is all of these people, Doja, Drake, Joyner Lucas, Logic, all have a poor relationship with their father. the only connection to the Black culture for them. So it really starts to make sense where there's that slight bit of resentment,
animosity,
where there's that discomfort when dabbling in and out of the culture. It makes sense. So again, I'll circle back to that, but it having that white mother, the mother, and then also additionally adding on not having that father figure, your mom is like, that's who you're kind of learning from. Like, nobody really wants to say it, but like, your mother is kind of the one that's gonna be guiding you through life for the most part in most situations in your family dynamic. So having someone that has no connection to the culture, Black culture, it would make sense why you're so confused. Like, no one's gonna teach, that woman is not gonna be able to help you with your hair texture. That woman's not gonna be able to help you with, you know, learning, like you're not gonna get a grasp of AAVE, and you're not gonna get a, like, you don't really know how to go through life as a person of color with a white mother. Unfortunately, you weren't given the proper tools. So I understand why they're so confused and why their identity is in a bit of crisis. But when does the buck stop? Like, where does the buck stop? Like, when do we finally look at ourselves and say, I'm mixed and that's okay? You know? So let's get into the father dynamic, because that is a very, very so producer Miles in our chat, it does unfortunately always fall back onto the Black man. I hate to be the one to say it, but every single one of those people has a poor relationship. We love you. Has a poor relationship with their Black father. Me, myself, also am Black and have a poor relationship with my Black father. So, yeah, let's dive into this a little bit deeper. So, specifically in Doja's case, she has had a very weird relationship with her Blackness. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I do. Very strange. Because it's like, I think the biggest red flag was the 4chan situation where she was talking to the,
Huge.
like, that was like the biggest thing. I'm like, why are you doing this? And it, because I had just assumed she was Black, you know, mixed, but Black. Because I think, I don't know if we're going to touch on this, but I feel like in the Black community, if you are mixed with white, you're just still kind of Black. It's not really a thing of like you're Black and white. And I think that's something that maybe biracial people with like mothers who are white maybe have that distinction of I'm Black and white, and we're like, no, you're Black. So right. I just assumed she was Black. So to hear that she was into this, and I was just like, well, why are you denying yourself as well? You know what I'm saying? I think that's the weird part for me, where I'm noticing with some people who are mixed, where it's just like, you are so mad at this other part of yourself that you're like pushing yourself into a space to be accepted, but really they're never going to really accept you because you're still Black. You know, it just, so that really just, that was the red flag for me that threw me off. And it's a shame because her music's really good and I think she's really incredible. Talented, but I think there's something going on where like it's just the dots aren't connecting. You know, it's just like something's missing. One thought I had when we were talking was like, okay, for me growing up, like I was like in middle class, suburban, like more predominantly white Spanish area. And so like I've had like experiences where I was seen to be more privileged because of that, right? And when I was younger, I didn't understand it. You know, like I was made fun of it. I was called Oreo because I spoke English. That's not correctly. It's just like white English. Yeah. And like I was made fun of for it, but I was able to identify growing up why that is. And I think that's the missing piece I find sometimes with like people who align with whiteness or align with being white when they're mixed. More so, it's like, why is it that you like alienate the whole Black community instead of just acknowledging the ways in which the Black community is that way because of the system of oppression from the white people that you are trying to align with so much. And so that's always my biggest question. So yeah, that's how I felt.
And that is the crux of it right there. I feel the same way about Doja. It was so disappointing, seeing all of those things come out and seeing her continue to be weird. Yeah, because it's just like, at our big age, you still are like struggling with this. I don't know. I have sympathy to a certain degree, but yeah, we'll circle back to Doja. With Drake and Logic and Joyner Lucas as rappers.
Right.
Let's specifically talk about Drake, because Logic and Joyner Lucas, they're not as prevalent in the culture. Yeah. They're not really. I haven't really heard from Joyner Lucas since like Trump was in office. So, but so with Drake. It's him being a rapper first and foremost. When he was a young biracial child, you can tell that he was a huge fan. I feel like, I don't know if other people have said this, but he kind of looks at rap in the way that like WWE fans look at the WWE. Like those are like, though all those his favorite rappers, those are like characters to him. And he is a huge fan, or like the way anime fans look at anime. Like those, it's not really a culture to him. It's just this thing he's obsessed with. Like Drake is a super fan of rap. Like if you really like dive into it, like his obsession with collecting these artifacts of like rappers, you know, just he really looks up to it, but with these still as like these people are really cool, not as like these are rappers that I enjoy. Like he is a rap fan first before he was ever a rapper, and that's different from the rappers that came before him that were students of rap. He never really studied rap. He was a fan of rap that became a rapper, and that's a very distinct distinction. So him being biracial with a white mother without a connection to his father, then dabbling into something that is so ingrained in Black culture, but never finding that his own individual like personality, his own like, he never really found himself. But yet he is so now deeply ingrained into this culture that never truly accepted him and that he never really had a connection to, which led us into Kendrick finally kind of saying it out loud and saying, you have no connection to this culture. You are not from this culture, and therefore you are not a part of this culture. And that sparked the I don't like the way you say the N-word conversation, which then kind of really made me want to have the biracial conversation, because a lot of people made it, well, anyone light skin can't say the N-word. Anyone with a white mom can't say the N-word. That's not what we said. That's not what he said. He said, I don't like the way you say it because you have no identity, because you do not like really have any foundation in this culture. You are a visitor. You are an outsider. You are not like us. And so when that conversation was going around about who can say the N-word, how many Black grandparents you gotta have, blah 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 blah, what were your thoughts while all of that was going on?
It was just a lot, because I think this conversation, yes, it's focused on like Drake basically being a spectator that became a rapper, but also just like the responsibility that rap culture had in like not speaking out against it earlier and letting it get to this point. Because I think like, because I was talking with my partner the other day about this, and we were talking about how like we listened to some of the old rock songs and how like that we used to listen to when we were younger, and we're like, man, what happened to those good white rock bands, like whatever. But then we were like, maybe it was capitalism squeezing out everything. And I think that's what happened with Drake. Like you take a person who is a spectator of the culture from Toronto, like, and he has no real idea like not saying that someone from Toronto can't be a great rapper and know the culture, but it's like, I guess this is where the idea, I think, of a plant comes in for me. Is just like, you brought this person in, he was good enough to get through to these gates that were kept purposefully, and then you just fuel it. And then I think also the story of Drake and how he's been successful in hip-hop can also be attributed to like the white audience that became a part of it too. Like when the white audiences really became like obsessed with hip-hop, like they didn't want stuff hardcore anymore. They want a Drake that makes them want to have a good time and have fun, and I think it's just appealing. And so I think that fueled with like just like him not being checked at the beginning by a lot of people, I think to a degree, I think that kind of is why he feels like he's confident enough to do this and like get all of these rap artifacts, like it's the damn like like the stones or whatever, what for Marvel,
Infinity Stones,
Infinity Stones. 'Cause I'm just like, it's just really interesting. I think, I don't know if we should as a culture get wrapped up in the whole parents thing as far as like how many parents are black, because it's like that's tough. And also blackness means different things around the world too. Like even the whole Tyler conversation, which in South Africa, mixed is a whole ass like demographic. It's not like black and white. It's different like over there. So yeah. So that's how I felt about it.
Yeah. And South Africans, again, that's a conversation for another day. I don't want too much heat on myself. I've already stepped into quite a bit as it is. But yeah, the conversation specifically with like the who was allowed to say the N-word thing, I feel like was such a like diversion from what was actually being said. And that made me, I was so annoyed that it became that, because if he wanted to say, I don't want to hear another biracial say the N-word, I'm sure Kendrick Lamar is not afraid to say, I don't want to hear another biracial say the N-word, but he didn't say that. He said, this biracial, I don't like the way you say it, and I don't want to hear you say it anymore. So I really wanted to touch on that. But let's get into just the light skin portion. So obviously, all of these people, due to genetics, all of these people that would fall under the biracial category are more often than not light-skinned. There are light-skins that are not biracial, and that's where Amanda Seales will now come back in, because the colorism conversation from the light-skin perspective is, for lack of better words, maddening as a dark person to hear. Their understanding of colorism is someone is mean to me because I am light-skinned. And that is frustrating. That is frustrating because, one, not how colorism works. And two, if people were mean to you, it was probably because you were annoying. But I will I will give you the floor. Whenever the colorism conversation passes your timeline, and specifically when it's coming from a light-skinned point of view, what are some things that kind of come to mind for you?
I think for me, like whenever light-skinned people have that argument, it feels very aligned to how white people's argument is when it comes to racism. It's like, you're mad at me because I'm white. No, I'm mad at you because the privileges you hold and the things you do. That's why I'm upset. Now, can people already have biases from their experiences that have nothing to do with you? Yeah, that is possible, and like that can be acknowledged. But I feel like the issue that I have at times is just the response to that. Like, two things can be true. Yes, they may have had another light-skinned person in their life that like really messed with them or, you know, did a lot. But there also could be, you could have been doing something that was exposing your light-skinned privilege. And like, it's okay to be light-skinned, but you have to acknowledge that privilege and you have to be accountable for it. And I think that's the issue. I feel like with Amanda Seales, like, because I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it, but I think with her, because I used to listen to her stuff like way back when, a couple years ago, before I kind of was like, okay, I think I've like elevated out of this. Like I just started to kind of be like, whatever. I think it's just like, maybe you're doing a lot at times. I'm not saying,
not all the
I don't
time.
think that, right. I don't think that means that you should be vilified all the time and this, that, and the third. I don't think you're a bad person, but you do things at times that make people not want to mess with you. And that's okay. But I think acknowledging that and being okay with the fact that, you know, you may not be for a particular group, they might not want to mess with you. Like, I think you have to acknowledge that as well. So, but yeah, that's how I feel about the colorism debate of like when light-skinned people have that argument. I think they don't acknowledge their privileges and the ways in which they could be better people overall.
Specifically with Amanda Seales, it is oftentimes where I find myself getting most frustrated, because it's bewildering to me that at this point in her life she still doesn't get it, for having been in Black spaces and being like visibly Black, like not racially ambiguous. The fact that she's still not getting it kind of makes me want to slam my head into a wall at this point. The issue is not that you are light-skinned. The issue is that you do not listen to dark-skinned people, specifically women. Amanda has been called out, I don't know how many times at this point, for the way that she chooses to do her advocacy. One of the biggest ones was, I don't know if it was talked about in Club Shay Shay. Did you watch that whole interview?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes,
did they touch on Samir Rice's mother in there? I doubt it.
He's not the best, so he didn't bring it up, but she brought it up briefly, but she very much skated over it because I didn't get a chance to dig into the Tamir Rice situation, and like she just really skated over it, so she didn't talk about it much.
That situation I watched in real time happen on Twitter, as I was on Twitter. She very much vilified that woman, like his mother. She was essentially kind of like collabing with Sean King, and they
collabing with Sean King.
Essentially, it was like they were trying to fundraise on her behalf, but she, one, didn't ask them to do that, and two, they were using her dead son, and she was not like directly involved in what was going on, and she was basically saying, don't use me as a talking point, don't use my son as a, and then she was the main one kind of going at his mother, basically saying, you know, we're doing this for you, how dare you be upset, how dare you be mad at us when we're the ones that are doing this work on your behalf, essentially. And it was just I'm not understanding how she still doesn't get it. And she's like kind of seen as an academic when she very clearly has not done the work. There's a Twitter account that I follow. I believe their name is Tiffany. They had an incredible point that they made about Amanda. We found it. I found the exact clip of where Amanda brings it up herself of how when she was getting into it with Samaria Rice on Twitter and the backlash that she received for it. I can play the clip if y'all want to put the clip, but I will play it just so that we can both hear it and understand.
She was attacking Samaria Rice. What? I asked a valid question that ended up being proven, by the way. I asked a valid question. Don't we think that there's something worth questioning, and why this woman whose son was 100% unjustly killed by the police, don't we think there's something to be said for, like, why are all these media outlets like giving her a platform to accuse all of these people that are the leaders of movements of fraud? And, you know, my problem is also that I think that people understand what I'm saying when I say something, And like when I wrote my first book, my uncle, who's a judge in Grenada, he was like, make sure you edit that book like a deposition because it's on paper and people cannot read your mind. So say it how you want it to be understood.
Yep.
Which is difficult in 140 characters.
It is.
But what I was saying with that statement was, why are all of these black media outlets giving a platform without any level of journalism behind it? That is dangerous.
Right.
And they're putting these people, mind you, I don't even f- Sean King, but again, what am I about? Justice.
Right.
This is Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. This is unjustified. He was asked by her brother to raise money. When he got the money and found out that she didn't know, she was given the money. These types of turning this space into a gossip space is dangerous, Shannon. We're trying to make movements and change.
But you do realize that's how social media works. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
have,
I know- no,
I
you're
don't
not
have to
wrong.
be
You're not
qualified.
wrong.
I could be a doctor. I could be a
No, but I'm not talking about I'm not talking about social media. This
Yeah.
is Black Voices
Oh, yeah.
and Brio and The Root, etc.
Right.
They were just running with this story because that's how journalism works now. It's just clicks. So in their minds, it seems like, well, if we put this story out, we're going to get the clicks. And then there are going to be follow-ups and we'll get clicks for that.
Right.
And then there's going to be follow-ups. So let's not tell the whole story now.
Right.
Let's string this along
Right.
like a f***ing soap opera.
Yeah.
It's people's lives. So I was justified.
So, the crux of that clip, producer Miles, I think the call is coming from inside the house, couldn't agree more. What she is talking about is, I would have to assume that this was during, what year would this have been? It wasn't that long ago.
Back.
This was a while back.
Well,
I think it might have been Trump administration still, to be honest with you.
yeah.
The first one. What she, sorry, I can never be serious. What she is talking about is her, Sean King, other black, like, you would presume to be, like, civil rights freedom fighters, which they are not. And Sean King really need to be, Sean King's not even half black. Anyway, what they're talking about is there was a fundraising front put on behalf of Tamir Rice, unbeknownst to the mother. The story became the brother knew, but the reality of what happened was the majority of that money never got to Samaria. Never got to her. People called her out on it. Samaria Rice was one of the first people. Tamir Rice's mother was one of the first people that was like, what, y'all, what are y'all doing? Like, essentially, called them out. And Amanda Seales was one of the main people to say, basically, how dare you? How dare you? We're trying to enact change, and you're essentially being an enemy of progress, etc., etc. So, in this thread, and the account is @written by Hannah, so their name is Hannah, one of my favorite Twitter accounts of all time, should have been included in whatever that Black Twitter Hulu documentary that went on that nobody watched.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're included, but they need to be included in it.
Yeah.
So, the second tweet in this thread, even Sean King himself wrote about how most of the money raised for Tamir didn't end up going towards Samaria. And talking about journalistic integrity while being on Shannon fucking Sharp, lying on a black mother's name. And y'all should also be ashamed of the ways y'all have been caping for her. Amanda Seales is not smart, she's not radical, she is just loud and light-skinned, and y'all confuse that for having coherent progressive politics. And that is exactly how I've always felt about Amanda. She, as a light-skinned woman, has kind of bulldozed her way to the front of talking points where she has no business being. And that continues to be my issue with light-skinned people, mainly in the entertainment industry, but specifically when it gets to the points where they try to make themselves to be some sort of a freedom fighter. You haven't done the reading, you haven't done the work, you have no business being at the front. You need to be at the back listening. You need to listen. That's their problem.
Yeah.
That's my problem. And I hate that she
Yeah.
had to be included into the biracial topic, but unfortunately it applies. It applies.
Yeah.
So now having heard that, and now having the summarized context, because there is still a lot more that went into what was said back and forth between the two of them that I watched happen in real time. I unfortunately don't have the exact, a lot of those tweets are gone at this point. But now having a lot of that context, how do you see and view Amanda Seales as a light-skinned entertainer?
Yeah, that's really problematic, especially because Sean King has been known to be like fraudulent,
a grifter,
allegedly. Right, like grifting. Even with the whole, didn't he try to do a Palestinian fund and start that up and like try to convert to Islam? Like, I just feel like with her, I feel like deep down she means well. Deep down. Sure. But I think also too, like, she isn't really big on just like hearing people, like you said, being a listener, and also just like acknowledging that two things can be true. Like, this man admitted that the money did not go to Samaria, so why are you getting upset with Samaria? Like, that's it's just like really counterproductive to me, especially someone who lost their child. Where's the empathy? And like, you know what I'm saying? Even though, because like I watched the whole Shannon Sharp interview, and that was also where there was a big discussion on her autism diagnosis, right? And how she didn't get clinically diagnosed, and like having experience with a sibling who has autism, like it's good to get it clinically diagnosed. I know the resources aren't there for everybody, but anyway, all that to say, for her, when she said it, I was like, oh, that makes sense a little bit, just because in the way of how brash she is, and how she just like, she's very concrete on like right is right and wrong is wrong, but there's nuance. And I think in that situation, you can mean well and want to do right, but you could also go the wrong way about it. And I could see where like she's just like, maybe her being light skinned is making her feel entitled to like, these people are just hating on me, but because also too, right, but then also too, like, I think her experience of being from Grenada and her mother being from Grenada is huge as well, because I think there's a disconnect being light skinned and from Grenada. Like, you don't fully understand the context of what you're fighting for, really don't, because like I think from just like my Caribbean family, sometimes they're so conservative in their mindset or very dead set in what they think that it's hard for them to understand the nuance of being Black in America. And I don't think she understands that as well fully. Like, she does, like, I know she's read it, I'm not even questioning the fact that she's not well read on some things, but I do think it's hard for her to have the proper empathy for a Black woman who just lost her son, who now has to worry about grifters making money off of her, and that's added stress. Don't you think that's stressful? Like, why would you berate a woman for that? That's just a mother, like a person. Like, it felt counterproductive, and I think that's where her issue lies, in the way that she's not able to see the full scope and the full picture, just how it affects her. And that's how I see Amanda.
Couldn't have said it better myself, folks. So we've touched on light-skinned, we've touched on colorism, we've touched on the dynamic of the lack of a Black father being present. Now, where do we go from here? Obviously, I'm not here to villainize every single biracial with a white mother. It's not your fault. No one asked you to come into the world. You were brought here against your will, from two hopefully willing participants. I think essentially what needs to happen amongst biracials is the same thing, unfortunately, that needs to happen amongst white people, is y'all need to check each other. Because coming from us, it's always, because of the society that we live in Black culture, it's always going to be perceived as it coming from a place of us being a hater on you. We're hating on you because you have lighter skin. We're hating on you because you're seen as exotic, or, you know, you have ethnically ambiguous features, and never that we're trying to check you because we don't want you to continue going through life the way that you are, because it's detrimental to you, but it's detrimental to the community at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's always, we're trying to help the hive, and it's unfortunately just always seen as us being a hater. So I knew that going into this conversation as a dark-skinned black person with 4 black grandparents, that it was going to be perceived a certain way no matter what from that community. And so if any of you are watching this, please know you are black and you are also white, and that is okay. And I'm sorry that people made you feel like you weren't allowed to play with them, or you weren't allowed to be included in certain things that were going on. But we're adults now, and nothing really can stop you from learning about your culture. If you want to feel included, maybe read a little. Let's start there. Read about the culture. I think my issue is you want to be accepted and you jump in head first without having done any of the, like, my mother made me watch Roots when I was like 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm coming from a different place. I know where my blackness comes from. I know, I understand it. I've lived it. You haven't lived it, and that's not your fault. But you can start. It's difficult to hear these things, and I'm sure it feels like an attack. I promise you, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. But you gotta start somewhere. It can't start with wanting to say the N-word and getting box braids. There has to be a different avenue first. I'm sorry that your white mother didn't understand what to do with your hair texture. I'm sorry that maybe she even resented you a little bit because your father wasn't around. I'm sorry. But we are grown. We're grown. At our big ages, there has to be a different way for you to feel included in the community. And people like Drake that are leeches, that when push comes to shove, when they're called out on certain things, they're calling other black people racist. Yeah, I'm gonna call you a white boy now. Not because I believe you're a white boy, but because you're annoying and I know that that's gonna hurt your feelings. Maybe stop acting like that first. Not everyone's hating on you because you have light skin. And if people are, guess what? They're weird.
Yeah.
Any kind of resounding overall or overarching thoughts, January?
I mean, that pretty much summed it up. I just want to echo that, and reiterate that this does not mean that we don't like biracial people who have white mothers. It's not it. We just don't like the things that y'all do sometimes. And I think that's the thing that y'all got to acknowledge, and do that work. Read for yourself. Do not ask or depend on other black, dark-skinned people or people that aren't mixed to tell you what to do. That's exhausting. Just go out and do the work, and most of the time you'll find more community than you thought. You'll find more other black people who are on the same wave as far as likes, interests, experiences in different forms. And it's about getting offline and going into real life and learning and reading and enjoying people in real life, not this internet weird stuff. So that's my thoughts.
We just need you to do better. We need you to do better, and it's for everyone's sake. We will all be better. Until all of us are free, none of us will be free. And you are one of us. Whether some of you want to agree with that or not, Doja, whether some of us want to, if the shoe fits, whoever's on the other side of this, then wear it, unfortunately. But if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Let it fly. The biracials know who I'm talking to. They know who I'm talking to. And just let's crack open a book, J. Cole. Let's crack open a book.
He got a white mom too,
Yeah. I didn't include him because he feels more centered in his blackness.
Yeah, he is.
He knows. He knows.
Yeah.
But let's crack open a book. The Dojas and the Drakes and the Joyner Lucases. Let's start there. Because your problem is not with us. Your problem is with your father, and your problem is with your mother. And I'm sorry that happened to you. But there is a future. And together, we will rise. I know that this was difficult, but if you made it to the end, I appreciate you for sticking with us.
Thank
we
you.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Please click all the links. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you know when we're gonna post.
Like our posts.
Like the posts. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter if you care to.
Right.
And we'll be back. We'll be back very, very soon, guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Love you. Beat it.